Hello, I'm Chris Breen. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Chemistry, and joining you from my kitchen, which is I'm sure where you all were planning on being on this fine day. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit about Chemistry real fast. We're an independent ad agency. We have offices in Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and a multicultural office in Miami. And we work with all kinds of clients, ranging from big global brands like Netflix to more local brands like the soccer club here, Atlanta United, and the Atlanta Falcons. So what I really wanted to talk to you guys about today is, and I may get a little preachy and sound almost like I'm on a soapbox, but is this lost art of anticipation. And I think really what I'm trying to get at with this is just this notion that we live in a click now world. And I think sometimes marketers sort of fall victim to that. We're sort of caught on this hamster wheel of now, click, click, click. We got to get eyeballs, impressions, yada, yada, yada. And there seems to be sometimes a lack of, marketing is about supply and demand, and business is about supply and demand. So sometimes there seems to be a bit of a lack of allowing time for the story to unfold and develop. And I'm sort of here today to preach to you, to let you know that although it may be a bit counterintuitive, I think it's important that as marketers, we identify opportunities to help build that slow burn of anticipation. On this slide, you see a couple of examples ranging from sneaker releases, I think is a great example, or show releases. And even fashion does a really nice job sometimes of building that anticipation, because there's power in anticipation. And, I just think sometimes as marketers, we forget that. So a perfect example, again, I'm stealing somebody else's work. I wish I did this, but the recent launch of the Adidas Yeezy Boost, shoe sold out within minutes. It generated over, I want to say, $1.5 billion in revenue from this shoe, just one shoe. The hype, the craving that was built up for it through very carefully mapped out launch, I think shows the power of anticipation. Again, just to share a little bit out of just straight business world, but think about this. Kurt Cobain's MTV Unplugged guitar is now being put up for auction with an estimated starting bid of $1 million US. So if we think about our jobs as marketers in this world, part of our job is to build that anticipation and that slow burn in certain instances. So, I think we can take some cues as marketers from fashion, music, and the world of entertainment. Another example is Run the Jewels has just announced their highly anticipated fourth album, and fans are clamoring for it because there was a buildup and a wait for it. So I think as marketers, we just have to remember that we can saturate our market with noise, and then nobody pays attention. And so again, that's my soapboxy, preachy message to everyone. And it sometimes is to clients, like just talking sometimes is just talking, and we create noise, and we have to find opportunities in the ebb and flow and life cycle of a brand to find moments that we can create to make this happen. Another example of a brand that builds that kind of almost cult-like anticipation of what's next is Supreme. So I just think, again, what I will go into next here is I want to give you two tangible examples, because it's great to sit here and tell you, hey guys, it's all about the slow burn and it's all about building anticipation, but what can we do? Like, what are tactics we can use and ways to sort of create those moments? Because I think the hardest part is, like I said, getting off that hamster wheel of now, click, 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 buy. And again, in this sort of mental game of creating want, we control a little bit as marketers the narrative of the supply and demand of how consumers interact with our brands. So, example I'm going to share with you today is that one of our clients is Atlanta United is the local soccer team, and when we met with them the first time when we pitched them, they had no players, no coach. Their stadium wasn't ready yet, and we had to find a way to start to build anticipation and excitement. Because again, we had a moment, and I think that's key, and you'll see this reoccurring theme as we go. We had a moment to work for or work towards, and that was the first match. And so the goal was always sell out the first match and build that snowball of momentum. So we started to create a storyline with the city, working towards that date. And we used social media a lot to listen to our fans and find unique ways to engage with them, even though we didn't have a single player or a coach at that point. Eventually, obviously, we started adding all these elements, and we didn't even have a uniform or a kit. You know, we had to find ways to start to build up excitement and anticipation for the team. This slides up because, truthfully, there were a lot of haters. A lot of people doubted that this would work. Soccer in the hotbed of college football, it's blasphemy. So we started to work to find ways to connect to connect with our fans and build that groundswell, working towards that launch date. So again, how do we launch the team with one of the world's sports towns? You ignore the baggage of the past and you give fans a reason to truly take ownership from day one. So we did a lot of things, and the client was really fantastic about this. Probably a full year before the first game, maybe a little bit, maybe 9 months, we actually, anybody who was on the mailing list or we identified as a soccer fan, we provided, I think we did 50,000 flags we dropped, Atlanta United flags, taking a cue kind of from college football world. In the South, it's a big deal to hang your college football team flag out in front of your house. And you'll see, for me, way too many Georgia flags for my taste, but I'm a Florida State guy. Anyhow, so we started to create a bit of excitement around the pending first match, and we started to find ways. We created kit reveals. We created grassroots elements for fans to engage with without a team, but to start to build that groundswell. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video, the Atlanta United video, and then we can talk a little more about it.
Atlanta is a town with absolutely zero enthusiasm for professional sports.
Atlanta United have single-handedly given everyone a look at what Major League Soccer should look like.
Atlanta is a town with absolutely zero enthusiasm for professional sports.
As sort of we go from my first point, which is really there's power in the wait, there's power in anticipation, and in mapping that out and using social media to listen to your fans, to figure out what's important, or your consumers, I should say. There's power in creating moments in your stories, but it's also not enough to just be a storyteller. you kind of have to be a story doer in order, I think, to maximize engagement. So invite fans in to participate versus just telling stories. So I think building that anticipation is important. Again, if you think about REI and Opt Outside, that's a great example of a way to get fans engaged in your story as a brand, right? There's dozens of other, Wendy's and Fortnite examples, but hopefully, if you take away, I'm hoping if you take away three things from my chat today, it is one, that you can't just be a storyteller, you have to be a story doer, and that social media can be used in so many ways beyond just a platform to get your message out there. It can be used to engage. It can be used to help build that roadmap for creating these moments that consumers can tap into that really help snowball your marketing. I think we try to think of them as not the marketing, but as little shots in the arm or injections into your marketing plan that really give you a boost and create that moment when you need them. And part of a key to when you're creating these stories is identifying, using social media to identify points in the story. Identify messages in the story that your fans care about, right? It's not about what we as marketers necessarily always want to say. It's about what our consumers want to talk about and be a part of. I think that's a huge part of it as well. And something that I'm about to play this next slide for you guys, and it's a Netflix case study. And this was a really fun and interesting job for us because we were in a bit of a unique challenge. We were working on the release of El Camino, Breaking Bad movie. And this was an interesting challenge because we had to find a way to engage with fans and sort of be that last drum roll before the premiere. And it became a bit of a challenge because the fans are so diehard and loyal that you have to be careful we didn't mislead them, misguide them, insinuate something about the movie they've been waiting 5 years to see. We had to find that thing to get them over the hump and get them to share the excitement and build up into their story. So, it's really important when you're creating this ball of energy that you find different points throughout your story to make that happen. So I'm going to go ahead and play this Netflix case study. I'm skipping ahead here, I apologize. Doing it out of order.
I felt like there was one story that was not fully explored.
Huel, you happy?
Reasonably.
Huel. Is Huel in the movie?
Because last we saw him, he was just stuck in a hotel room.
Dude, what the hell is this? It's supposed to be the El Camino movie from Netflix or something.
Screw this.
El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, hit Netflix over the weekend.
It's internationally available too. We're going to be all over it.
All right. So I reverse presented there, which is one of my specialties. So I'm going to go back and share a little bit about this. And I think actually seeing the video first might give you a little bit more context. But really our ask was to create a launch campaign for the Breaking Bad movie El Camino. And our biggest challenge, and I think I said this, was there were not a lot of major loose ends left from the series. And there was no more Walt, which is what everyone, who's the main character of the show. And no more meth, which again, it was a very different story that we had to start to get fans excited about or viewers excited about. I skipped my favorite part of this presentation, which is what we did. We went, oh shit, what are we going to tell people? Like, how are we going to get them excited without telling them, there's no meth? Because we can't tell them there's no meth, there's no this, there's no that. So we really leaned heavily into social listening and basically consulted the world's best insight engine. And so what we found there were a lot of fans that were, there was this little weird loose end that it wasn't a major loose end. It wasn't like who shot JR. I'm dating myself now. It's a Dallas reference. Some of you in the room may have to Google it, but it's a great TV show. Anyhow, my point is we really searched long and hard to find a way in to create that moment for fans to engage with right before the launch of the show. So what we ended up doing was creating a 62 or 2-hour live feed of Huel, and because he was left in a safe house, and that's just how the show ended. So we thought, what if fans could wait with Huel for the start of the show? So we used that moment, and then as we filmed it, we left little Easter eggs in there for fans so that they could share, like they found out little nuggets that were hints about things. Truthfully, they weren't like spoilers or plot twisters. They were more subtle hints like a siren going on in the background at 4:53 a.m. and in the last episode, that's that siren. Things like that made them part of the story and engaged. So, we thought, again, it was just a unique way to bring fans in and have the story resonate. And it was also a way to, when you're thinking about, and that hopefully you can see the story doing versus storytelling. We're not just, it's not a great trailer. It's a way to get fans involved and engaged and reignite that momentum that I'm sure they had 5 years ago. But a lot has changed in 5 years. So again, for us, social isn't just media. Social is this like crazy living organism that we use in different ways to tap into our audience, but also to listen to them, and then to figure out the moments. Like we needed that push right before the show premiered to kind of create that last little groundswell. So, again, for the story is always critical. And for Atlanta United, I think the story was, we are not the old South. We're the new South, diverse and unified. And I think for Netflix, it was about creating Easter eggs for them to uncover while setting the stage for Jesse's redemption. Jesse was the main character in the show. So we couldn't introduce that into the redemption because then it would ruin it for the fans. So we had to find a unique way and identify emotional themes that will resonate with them across the board. So hopefully you can see those are two unique ways to make it resonate, right? That's the power of social media. Whether it's Flag Out Fridays for Atlanta United, where people are sharing and posting, they're getting excited a year out from the opening game. And then, we've of course done other things in the, in the marketing, but we found these little moments, whether it's a 63-hour countdown or something like a Flags Out Friday. So, but timing is king, and identifying those right moments for your audience is king. And then not being afraid to maybe be a little quiet sometimes. Like, there's power in that. Again, you have to map the whole thing out. But I think that's one unique way at chemistry. I think we leverage social, and we love it because it's this crazy two-way conversation that allows us to test things and experiment and then go in with what we believe will create the maximum engagement. So that's the show for today. Thank you. And I think we're about to flip over to the Q&A, and hopefully I won't go out of order in that, or that'll be awkward. Okay, I love this. Is fun. So Tracy asks, behind the scenes question, how long did it take you to film the 62 hours with Huel? Aha, this is the magic of movies. We shot it in one 12-hour shoot day because that was the only amount of time the talent was available. So it really was quite a match, probably the craziest production ask or job I've done in my 20 plus years in this business. So we had to shoot it so meticulously. So again, there were points in the 62 hours where he was sleeping, so we were looping footage, but nobody could really know. That was the key, because again, these fans are so diehard, and it's like a Star Wars fan or a I don't know, something else fan, and they just if the key was making it look seamless. So we actually shot it in a 12-hour shoot day, which was pretty nuts. And from start to finish, it was 3 weeks. So I think I still have the wounds from that, but certainly love the outcome. This is from Julian, and he says, could you please elaborate on the story doer concept? So the story doer concept is, it's pretty much, you can't just tell people things. You have to show them things and invite them in to share with you. Otherwise, you're just talking out them. And if that's the case, you can run on a TV ad or a print ad or a billboard. That's the beauty of social, is you can have this conversation. So I think the story doing is proving it, backing it up. Like, hey, we're Netflix, we engage. We're going to bring you into this story so you can participate, sort of tear down that wall, if you will. Same with Atlanta United with the flags, or several other efforts we've had. We actually did a billboard for Atlanta United when they wanted to create a rivalry. We put a billboard up. The closest team to us in their first year was Orlando in terms of geography. So we put a billboard up across the street from Orlando Stadium right before our first game. And again, the point wasn't to run a billboard to show how great we were. The point was we really pissed off Orlando fans, and that helped spark this rivalry mentality in our own fans. And the Orlando fans, and it got ESPN coverage and that sort of stuff, which was super cool. And added bonus was the Orlando fans tore the billboard down the first night it was up. So we got press coverage out of it. So again, that's not a social media thing. It's a billboard, but we made it a social media thing. And it wasn't just us, we counted on that interaction. So hopefully that answers that question. What type of brief or direction, I'm sorry, this is Yannick. And what type of brief or direction do you usually get from clients that would lead you to use this type of strategy for them? We work a lot. Like we try to, there's a lot of give and take. We're the type of agency where we're going to annoy our clients sometimes, and I think they're cool with that. But there's a lot of give and take to tap into and figure out. We ask a lot of questions in the briefing process to get to what we're really trying to do, not yet what we're really trying to make. So I think that that is probably as important in the process. Again, our briefs start with what we call a brief and a tweet. So it's literally the thing we're trying to do. And that thing we're trying to do gets everyone, the creatives, the clients, it gets them out of judging headlines and words and pictures and their mind into the outcome of that, which we find leads to things beyond just, nice design and a clever headline. All right, let's see, one more. Did you incorporate, this is from Tracy. Sorry, there's a two-part question from Tracy. No, it's one. And did we incorporate elements to make it seem more real time? Yes, Tracy, this is going back to Tracy's first question. And it was, how long did the shoot take? Yeah, we did incorporate all kinds of elements from, and truthfully, a lot of it was, we recreated this last 62 hours of the show happening around our Huel character in the place he was left in the show. So there was like he turned on the TV at one point, and there was a newscast of a shootout, right? And that was the shootout that was in the last episode. So again, we brought him into that world to get him excited again. And so, yeah, we absolutely did try to, find ways to make it feel as real time as possible, but not only as real time as possible, as in the story as possible. Okay, we've got another one, which is Al, and Al asks, where do you begin with a huge project like the Atlanta MLS team? It was great. Again, they are a phenomenal client because they have big ambitions, and we love clients that have big ambitions. They kind of had in their head, it was once you meet them, they know who they are. So that really helped us a lot. I think we tried to always focus again on those moments. So for example, we knew in the beginning, I gotta tell you, 60% of the battle in the first season was opening game. Opening games gotta sell out. It's like having a great restaurant or a nightclub or something. If that first opening weekend isn't great, so we concentrated a ton of our efforts on getting the front end of that snowball going. So, we created we had rented out this venue called the Tabernacle here in Atlanta and created a massive kit reveal that was, I don't know, looking back on it, I kind of almost feels to me like that was really the beginning of it. So with that, they felt to me almost like it was their announcement, like the Death Star was coming for the rest of the MLS. Like the amount of energy and effort that went into that was, we're not fucking around, pardon my French. And so like all those moments kept building on each other, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to be a part of it. So hopefully that answers it. Could you talk, sorry, this is, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, Jana? And could you talk more about elements you implemented in the soccer strategy that helped make such a large shift in the soccer culture? Again, fantastic clients who our day-to-day client played professional soccer and really, really got soccer culture. And for me, I was a little worried. Again, I played basketball and I loved and watched football, watched a little soccer, but when we met and we sat down with them for the pitch for the first time, what she told us really kind of were like, yeah, we gotta do this, was she wasn't interested in just selling seats. She wanted to create the next generation of fans. So we started to do a lot of things to establish not a culture, but rituals. So we created a golden spike that represents sort of Atlanta being a train town, if you will. It's how Atlanta got its start, and all the fans sign it. It sits out in front of the stadium, and then typically we get a group of members from their supporter groups to carry it down before the game. So again, we're incorporating fans into the team, and that was really the strategy, was how do we make the town part of the team? Those types of things that, again, you're not thinking about print ads or billboards. They're going to come and they're going to all work together, but you're thinking about creating habits and rituals, and Flags Out Friday is another ritual. creating a pub partnership program, because a big part of soccer culture is going to the pub and watching your team when they're away. So all those sorts of things, truthfully, someone had to be there, or the whole agency and the client together, to really keep them all moving simultaneously. And then after a while, they kind of self-perpetuate. Okay, from Alexa, what record did the Atlanta United campaign break? Or I'm going to sound braggy, but we were like I was going to say Michael Jackson, but I don't know. Anyway, we broke a lot of records. Again, that was the inaugural season. In the inaugural season, I want to say we broke the single game record 5 times, attendance record. We sold out every game. We also, in their second season, again, they have such a rabid fan base, which is so fun to watch. But I guess it's a record. We were the first soccer club on Fanatics, or U.S. soccer club on Fanatics, to outsell Major League Baseball or the NFL on a given day when we won the championship. So I think we've broken a lot of records. I think all the attendance records, I believe all the top 10 attendance records now are all us, and that's in a 30-plus year history of the league. So it definitely is a prideful thing here in Atlanta, and I think it all ratchets back to that story, and not just telling it, but doing it. So again, that story of, hey, this isn't the Atlanta you think it is. We're not the sleepy little southern town. We're diverse and united, and getting everybody on that train was sort of the key. And you got to get them on early, or it just won't happen. Okay. This is, no, did I already tell them? Sorry. I think I've read them all. Sorry, I'm gonna go back through this. Organizational skills is not my thing, if you haven't noticed. I think that's all the questions. Am I missing one? I believe I got them all. Type quickly. I'll answer more. If not, again, I think I have a few minutes left. So if anybody wants to ask anything else, if not, thank you all. It's a little interesting doing this in my kitchen, but I really, I think it's, again, don't get me wrong, we do a lot of print ads and a lot of, other things, but I think for me, like, our mission is, how do we find ways to, use what we do to create these moments for brands that really that do more than just advertise. It sounds cliche, but it's true. All right, we got one more, I think. Thank you. I was running out of things I was going to start just doing show tunes. But I'd love to hear more about how to rally fans. How do you research or plan for ways to rally the troops in a meaningful way? I think, again, for us in watching Atlanta and being a part of that Atlanta United train getting going, is you got to get them in early. Soccer is especially a unique, and soccer's got a great blueprint. And I think a lot of other sports are now starting to emulate some of the things that soccer is doing. But from the beginning, the club helped the supporters groups get started. That's a soccer thing. There's Footy Mob, and you name it. There's 4 or 5 supporter groups who are they're the ones that, if you go to in the supporter section, which is just the one end of the field behind the goal, they're the rowdy ones. They're the ones you hear all the soccer stories about. They're the ones they're your most rabid fans. And so I think they knew that there wasn't going to be success unless those rabid fans were there and felt heard, and felt, we gave them ways to engage with their team, but also to start to get the fence sitters on board, So I think that's probably from a 30,000 foot view, the most significant thing is the amount of work put in on the front end with the grassroots sort of fan groups. to there. There's like a almost a leadership panel of the fan groups that meets with the team. And then that informs us as marketers, right? We kind of understand sensitive points or buttons to tap into or push. But I think, it all goes back to, again, I'm a broken record, but story doing, and that story doing brings in the fans, but it goes way deeper. It's an organizational thing. Everybody's got to drink the Kool-Aid, or it's just storytelling and it doesn't. Again, I'm sure if you have $1 billion, storytelling works. I mean, our marketing budget for that was not much. So that's probably, one of the things we're most proud of is we didn't just outspend everyone to get them where they are. I think we it's cliche, but maybe we outsmarted them a little, but we also, I think and this was maybe more so the client than us, but they laid that foundation. So we were armed with things that can make us successful. All right, let's see if we got any more. All right, I'm going to start doing show tunes. All righty, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate it.